Hello and welcome to my second and video in my Halloween series. This one being the top 13 horror villains slash monsters. And joining me once again is Elena. Now, over the years, I've seen quite a lot of horror movies, ranging from old classics like George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead to more recent films such as, I don't know, The Purge, Tusk, and even Annabelle. Oh, but tonight I have something really good in store. This one being in a list of the villains and monsters of horror movies, TV shows, or even games. And believe me, on the games part, there's quite the selection to choose from. So let's not waste any more time. Let's go on to number 13, which is the Freddy Fazbear Crew from Five Nights at Freddy's. A very popular indie horror game now, Five Nights at Freddy's puts you in danger because your need to survive intensifies greatly with each night. If you don't know about this game, allow me to explain. You are the newly hired security guard for Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, which is kind of a parody of Chuck E. Cheese's. And your job as security guard is to keep an eye on the animatronics that are in the main lobby.
As the previous warden there, named Gordon, it's just from a cute little film, teaser, but Gordon, he says, careful, they have a mind of their own.
They like to come alive at night.
Exactly, and if you've seen this video, you know that it's really creepy because these things move on their own. They sneak up and think you're just this puppet without the costume on, so they'll...
Actually, they say it was an endoskeleton.
Yeah, and they'll try to kill you and put your body in one of their bodies, so... And as he said, every night increases with the challenge of them moving faster, cunning, and getting smarter.
And this game has actually inspired quite a number of creepypasta stories already. The game's not even a year old and already there's like 10 creepypastas based around it.
It's impressive how this game just got so popular as soon as it hit the net.
The biggest Let's Players I can think of that have done this are Raid Wolf Gamer, Markiplier, Yami Mash, and Jacksepticeye.
4 people.
And possibly PewDiePie, but I don't check his YouTube channel that much.
I thought it was pronounced PewDiePie.
PewDiePie, whatever. And it was this though, I have played the game myself, and I've had a little help.
Damn, we got stuck on night 2. Just night 2.
I went the second night went easy for me. And I tried redoing the game and to play it myself. And basically this game makes you so paranoid as you play it.
I know, he snuck up on me one day and flipped out like crazy because I was so stuck to the screen trying to play this game and get through the levels. It's just so hypnotizing.
And the worst part is, while you're trying to keep an eye on these demonic puppets, I guess, as I could call them, the game reminds you that there is a limited source of power, and you need to survive for 6 hours.
That's horrible because the power includes holding up your camera,
The doors,
the
and the lights outside the doors.
Exactly. And those go fast.
If you want to see Markiplier or any of the other YouTubers I mentioned and play this game for yourself, or if you want to play the game yourself, by all means go on ahead. I highly recommend it.
It will make you paranoid to your bones.
And one other thing before we move on to the next entry. I've recently discovered that next year there's going to be a sequel. Either they're going to add more animatronics to it, or they're going to change the way certain characters look. I've seen teaser trailers for it, and that they're going to somewhat change Foxy and Bonnie.
Yeah.
Need to look more female.
Yeah, I was reading it and I was like, hell no, they're making a sequel. Oh my god, so many people are gonna like it. Because people actually encourage the players who are playing it, the Let's Play ones, to continue playing it. And you should see how paranoid those players turn.
In fact, Markiplier's got a whole video based on all the times he failed on the 2020 challenge.
It's even pretty rare that he discovered the Golden Freddy.
Actually, that one's just a jump scare.
That was like a glitch right there.
And does it on purpose.
Oh, yeah, you were right about PewDiePie playing on there. I checked his channel, he plays.
Oh. Anyway, let's move on. Number 12, Dracula. From, well, any form of media that features this vampire. It seems there's so many different variations of Dracula. I all missed off my favorites. I'm gonna know what she's doing.
I'm sorry.
Which are, gotta get my hand in the frame. So Bela Lugosi as the original, Gary Oldman from Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, the Black Dracula from Billy and Mandy, the one that kind of sounds like Red Fox, the Dracula from Van Helsing, and of course from Hotel Transylvania, Adam Sandler's portrayal. Yeah, I know, it's kind of surprising that they like Adam Sandler as Dracula. And seeing as that there's a new Dracula film out in theaters, I've added it to my list of movies I would like to see before the Halloween season's over. Now, for those of you who don't know that much about Dracula, allow me to explain, or at least summarize the legend. Dracula's backstory is that he's based off of this Romanian ruler, named Vlad Tepes, or as he was known, and by his enemies, Vlad the Impaler, because his form of execution was to impale his enemies on long wooden stakes and dine in the forest of impaled corpses while dipping his bread into their blood. And you may have found a picture of what Bram Stoker had his mind on what Dracula looked like. Or may have looked like.
The description right here says, in his famous book Dracula, 1897, Bram Stoker. I'm sorry, I don't know much about these old movies. Conjured up a true nightmare, a creature of the dark who feasts on human blood, infecting his victims with vampirism. Dracula was a centuries-old vampire. an undead being who drank blood to stay immortal, turning them into vampires too. He lived in a remote castle high in the mountains of Transylvania and Romania, and had the power to change into a bat, a dog, or a cloud of mist to carry out his foul deeds.
I thought it was a wolf. Because in the movie, he turns into a wolf instead of a dog.
Well, there's a bunch of different legends about him, and it's been like remixed and pushed around, sort of. So,
Well, there you have it. And I want to say this though. Oh, Dracula in my mind will always be what vampires should be, not Twilight vampires.
oh, but Taylor Lautner. I'm just kidding. I was kidding.
I only have one little thing to say about the vampires of Twilight. Hey, they are nothing but fan service to girls. Number 11. And this one's going to be quite a shocker. Anyone, and from the Purge movies, if you know what I mean, I'll explain. In both of the Purge films, there's a time when any form of criminal activity is considered legal for 12 whole hours. That means from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. the following day, you can do basically whatever you want, even murder.
And you'd be surprised at how many people snap at that.
And the scary thing about the movies is the fact that during the Purge, anyone can be a potential threat towards you. Your friends, co-workers,
Family.
neighbors, classmates, and family, like she said. Even people who may seem kind and gentle on the outside, like, oh, I don't know, your grandmother.
Brings in a baseball bat, starts smacking you half to death.
They're a neighbor who's been kind to you since you were a kid. And once the Purge starts, it's fair game. Of course, though, there are a few exceptions to the rules. Like, you can't use any explosives that are above C4 or explosives.
No, I haven't seen this movie, but he talks about it a lot, and I mean a lot to me. From what I hear, it's fighting for your life, really, because everyone on the street just snap, the nice people you know snap, and go kill.
And not even before the Purge begins, people who are anticipating it are getting ready. They're arming themselves. They're building up so much pent-up rage that they've saved from the past year to unleash on one night. And keep in mind, while all this is going on, any form of law enforcement that you think would be able to save you are nowhere to be seen. Hospitals aren't active. The police aren't going to do anything.
Just think of it this way. The police are going to turn against you instead of with you.
Well, no, according to the films, the police don't even do anything. They're not even around.
They must have all taken cover. You know how smart they are.
Then again, with what's going on in the news about this police brutality business, all I have to say is we're getting very close to where the Purge is becoming a reality.
There's a lot of things that's going to become a reality. And it's not going to be good. I'm telling you now, it's not going to be good.
But that's enough of that. Let's move on to number 10, which is Oogie Boogie from The Nightmare Before Christmas. Although most people won't consider The Nightmare Before Christmas as horror, I count it because according to the villain wiki, he's a horror villain. Because, well, he's the boogeyman. And he's an entity that terrorizes children and while they're in their beds. In fact, there are different variations of the boogeyman altogether. Oogie Boogie is probably like the least scary.
Just found a picture.
Unlike this one, however.
We have a whole book of these mythical monsters, and there's a lot of the monsters in this book that he's going to mention later.
Well, not really.
Well, some that I'm able to find at least.
But anyway, Oogie Boogie, for those of you who don't know what he looks like, imagine, if you will, if a large burlap sack came to life, it started singing, and at random moments would expose some sort of creepy crawly that's inside him. For example, the Oogie Boogie Man song, where he's proceeding to torture Santa Claus in his casino/dungeon. It's also good to note that Oogie is voiced by Ken Page, who also voiced another obscure animated character. And as the nostalgia critic has done so many times in the past, the big-lipped alligator from All Dogs Go to Heaven. Unfortunately, I don't have the clip up at the moment to do that, but I will in future.
Hold up, I have it right here. Let me see if I can get it to load.
Hey man, I can do it from my computer too.
I know, hang on. Let me see if I can get it to work though. This thing is like freezing. It's not the healthiest thing. Hang on, let me see if I can find it. It's not charging, but...
Anyway, while she's doing that,
Yeah, you can continue talking.
and I'll continue our discussion about this. I've recently found out, later on after I saw this movie,
That's me, I'm sorry.
that Oogie's also been featured in quite a few video games. I mean, he's been featured in certain Kingdom Hearts games. Games as one of the villains. He's been in the sequel of video game Oogie's Revenge, in which he sings like a total of 3 times. And I've actually played the game before, and it's pretty interesting.
Played the game before?
Yeah, when I had the PS2.
Oh, hang on, it's loading. We just keep talking.
And not to mention, and he's also featured briefly, of course, in the internet comic Grim Tales from Below, which is like the ultimate crossover for anyone and who likes old Cartoon Network shows, those Nickelodeon and shows. There's The Nightmare Before Christmas and all that stuff.
Okay, it's about ready.
If you want to read the comic for yourself, go to snafucomics.com. And by the way, there's 2 versions of this song. On Michael's Toxic Love, the second version is longer. Not by much.
Hope you guys can hear that. I'm playing pretty loud. Can you get my Kindle screen up here on the shelf with the boogeyman looks like? Not very well, but... You guys can barely see him, but that's the boogeyman.
Wait a minute, I got an idea.
What?
Turn off the lamp.
How? Is it right here? Can't hold that, you should have.
No, I got it. It was one hand.
Oh wow, you can zoom pretty good.
Sorry, I can't hold this thing for crap.
See, as I said, it's kind of a hot casino.
Also, Huey Moore, Fiji Retro, and the film buff, if I've mentioned this before, but they actually used ultraviolet lighting when doing this sequence.
Yeah, because you can see it kind of like glowing right there.
Yeah, actually, I find that sort of lighting pretty cool.
It is.
Although Tim Burton had to be very careful not to get any type of skin cancer from this.
Oh, yeah.
And don't worry, to avoid the YouTube copyright use law, I will put a disclaimer that I don't own this clip.
Yeah, I found it on YouTube, so. Three Stooges right there.
Spock, Shock, and Burrow with his henchmen. Anyway,
Spoiled punishment.
anyway, let's carry on with the list now that that's over.
Yeah.
At number 9, it's Jigsaw from any of the Saw films. Now, from what I can gather, the Saw films are definitely a type of movie that would be better off as a video game. Mostly because Jigsaw is incredibly evil and twisted to the point where he can probably make even Hannibal Lecter cringe. And it's like, dude, I think you went a little too far. What he does basically is he abducts people and pits them against each other to see what they would do in order to survive in certain situations. And the death traps that he sets up on them are pretty interesting. Almost like something you'd expect to see out of the Spanish Inquisition. Like a reverse bear trap, which instead of clamping down on your head, would actually tear your head in two. Ooh, and another death trap where, in order to stop this pendulum from slicing you in two, you have to be bold enough to stick your arms into these vice-like pressure mats. That's which on the other side is a button that would stop it. Unfortunately, most of the people in the Saw films that get tortured by these traps don't survive.
I can't talk much about this one because I don't watch Saw or TV. Kind of sick of
And even after he dies in like, I don't know, third or fourth movie, he still is doing this to people. And he does this in a very unique way. He has his little puppet named Billy. I don't know why he called him Billy. He basically start torturing his victims by asking the ominous question, want to play a game? Now for number 8, and possibly one of my favorite of the horror villains or horror monsters. The Headless Horseman from the Legend of Sleepy Hollow. And it's not book.
I'll look him up.
There's no story I can imagine that Tim Burton cannot make more entertaining. And when he's doing and the movie work on it. And The Legend of Sleepy Hollow is no exception. For those of you who have not even heard of this story, it's a timeless American classic about a school teacher who has a run-in and with the ghost of a Hessian soldier who lost his head to a stray cannonball during the Civil War. And every Halloween night, in Sleepy Hollow, he roams the countryside looking for a new head. I've seen the Disney version, and I've seen the Tim Burton version. I will say this though, I think both pretty well. The only thing that's missing in the Headless Horse in the Tim Burton version though is the horseman laughing, like in the Disney version.
Hang on, it's hard to find a good Headless Horseman name. Okay, I'll find a picture of him instead.
And I've got something very interesting for you.
Okay, hang on, let me get the picture.
While she's trying to find a picture, I am going to bring up a music clip
Oh, wow.
after explaining the Headless Horseman. No, that's the Disney version. This is the Tim Burton one. For those of you who don't know, this is also from the Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. And I gotta find a good one here. Yeah, there's so many different versions of it. Yeah, what the hell? I'll go with the old classic. By Bing Crosby.
Is that okay?
The other one's fine. Oh, wait a minute, I've got one. For the show. My thumbnail. For those of you that are not familiar with my channel, I decided to add the Headless Horseman itself as my YouTube channel thumbnail.
Yeah, that's him. Probably grandfather's him. It's supposed to have the grandfather's
No.
No?
The story of the Headless Horseman is from Washington Irving, who also did in the story of Rip Van Winkle, the guy who slept for 40 years. The Halloween hayride, probably. I was right.
I found it. This horseman hayride. Oh god, that's funny.
And by the way, this is a real thing.
Oh crap. I didn't think he was actually going to give me something. I'll be right back.
Anyway, let's move. Oh yeah, one more thing. Huey Toonmore has mentioned this before on his top 13 animated monster list when he mentions the Horseman. And in the Tim Burton version, he's portrayed by Christopher Walken. Now imagine that. Now let's move on to number 7.
Keep picking that up, please.
Oh man, this one's gotta be.
I'm sorry, I need
Easy.
this Kindle to show you guys pictures and
What
stuff.
the heck is that? I can feel it, but I can't. Oh, no wonder why.
Sorry for the delay, guys.
Now I can unplug my phone.
Yeah, it's at 100% anyways.
Anyway, exciting, isn't it?
Hey, guys.
Anyway, number 7 is Norman Bates from Psycho. And where on earth is that book I have? I had it. Where on earth did it go? Unless it. Oh yeah, it's all the way over there. We all know about Alfred Hitchcock's timeless classic, but we may not know his backstory all that well. Norman, along with a couple of other horror villains, such as Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs and Leatherface from the Chainsaw Massacre films, is actually based off of an actual serial killer named Ed Gein, who basically is more than an inspiration for these three. And after the years of being mentally abused by his mother, Norman over time became psycho. I think a friend with Monster Man.
I know. I'm looking. I like it.
And in the first 5 minutes of the movie, he does the unthinkable.
I'll read it.
Oh, he kills off the main character in the first 5 minutes, which now is kind of a big no-no.
Let me read his description of what people think. Okay, so his Norman Bates, raised in a household that would become known as a classic textbook example for ego-destroying child rearing, Norman Bates actually does not exist alone as a complete and
Functional.
functional person. Unable to live on his own after the death of his mother, yes, Norman did kill her, and despite a desperate attempt to become his own person, he found himself compelled to assume her identity. After never matured because of her brutal domination over his life, the only way he could function was to tell himself what to do in her voice.
That's somewhat disturbing.
It is. You want to show a picture?
Yeah. And and we all know about that one scene. And I am not gonna bother to put in a music clip, but it goes something a little like this.
Stabbing, knife. I have the picture. See? See? I have the picture. Right? Nah, can't, I know what you mean now. It's too blurry. Fuck. It's the big picture where Norman Bates is stabbing this naked lady. So, kind of disturbing and somewhat weird, but, you know.
And then whenever I hear that music, all I'm thinking of is, oh no, someone's gonna die.
Yep, Norman Bates. Dude, She's killed in the first like 10 minutes of the whole movie. So
5 minutes, 10 minutes, I was close.
yeah, God damn it.
Basically, Norman is the perfect example of what happens when, as a kid, you're pushed too far. Or even if it means he is dressing up as her and impersonating her while she's dead.
That's just a little too creepy. And that's LOL.
Yeah, right. Hey, who are you kidding? Now for number 6. Next, and now we're getting to the big scares.
I'm ready.
Number 6 is Victor Crowley from the Hatchet films. All 3 Hatchet films share the same vengeful bayou spirit, Victor Crowley. Born hideously deformed, Victor's father hid him from anyone who would want to exploit or harm the boy. However, on one Halloween night, a trio of teenagers wanted to chase Victor out of the safety of his house by throwing lit flares. Yeah, why not? Torture someone who's physically, yeah, that'd be him.
Okay, I found the perfect
Ooh,
picture.
this is perfect.
I found the perfect picture for what he was describing right there.
I hate the way I have
Burning
to.
house, and there's Victor right there.
I know you can't see him all that well. Sorry, but my camera's a piece of crap. That's my new one too. Anyway, back to this.
Yes, back to
It's Halloween night. Kids throwing flares at his house and we're to get him out. This caused a fire to break out, and when Victor's father hears him crying out in fear, he takes a hatchet and starts whacking away at the door, not knowing that Victor is actually on the other side of the door trying to escape at the same time, and he's hacking away. Until finally it comes to a collision where the hatchet and Victor collide.
It's a drawing.
That's close enough. God damn it, what did I do?
Fuck you. What did you do, asshole?
I don't know.
There.
Forget it.
It's pretty disturbing, so I'm pretty glad I didn't show you guys.
Yeah, basically, on accident, Victor, or his father, leaves a hand. Oh, shut up. That leaves a scar running down his face. He's kind of like this.
I'm sorry, I'm cutting.
And after Victor's murder, I guess it would be called, his father tried in vain to avenge him by getting back at the boys who killed him. To no avail. Which afterwards he died of a broken heart. Now, as sad of a story as that is, let's not forget the fact that Crowley is a vengeful spirit. And who comes back from the dead, and in each movie, well, wait a minute, no, he didn't come back from the dead in the second movie, he was still alive. No, wait. Yeah, he did. And I haven't watched the third one yet, but I'm guessing he finally dies. And he killed his victims in some of the most grotesque ways.
Like this?
By ripping some, yeah,
Face open?
something like that. Using his hatchet to cleave someone in two.
So basically what made him turn is that he was killed and by a bunch of teenagers and he just wanted to get
Revenge. While at the same time, you're hearing his voice being heard all over the Honey Island and Bayou going, oh.
That's sad.
It is, but you gotta remember, he's also a serial killer.
Yeah, but he wouldn't become a serial killer because damn bad teenagers stay away.
Almost kind of reminds me of another horror villain. Maybe later. Number 5. Chucky from Every Child's Play.
No.
Hey, movie.
Oh no, I'm not trying to picture that dude.
I know. You don't need to.
Oh, fuck.
There's one thing that may scare people more than anything else, and that would be dolls, especially living dolls. Basically, anything that looks humanoid and looks like it can come to life. Grab it, pass it. And if you haven't heard the series or even watched the first film, I'll basically explain. And Chucky used to be a murderous criminal who transferred his soul to the closest thing he could touch, at the time which was a blue eyed doll. Well, the doll was sold to a little boy named Alex. No, Andy. I don't know if I put Alex.
I thought it was a little girl.
No, it was a boy.
Really? That's surprising.
And basically that's when the movie is finally begin. Because in every movie, it has Chucky trying to get out of his plastic prison and into a human body. Unfortunately, though, there's a catch. You can only transfer a soul into the body of the first human he's given into contact with after he transferred his soul into the doll, which happened to be an 8-year-old boy. And I will say about 2 or 3 movies to the series, he's constantly trying to go after this kid. And each movie he's destroyed in a way.
And then one movie he definitely got destroyed by his own dying thing, whatever came out.
But it's not until Bride of Chucky when we're introduced to his wife.
Tiffany.
Is it?
Yes, Tiffany. I'll be right back. I know it's Tiffany.
Yeah, it is Tiffany. Where they become a murderous duo. And in the second to last of the film is Seed of Chucky, when we're introduced to their offspring, Glenda, Glenn, I can't tell anymore.
It's an it. That's what we decided to call it. It, because you don't know which gender it is. Its sex is all messed up. It acts like a boy and it acts like a girl.
Actually, kind of acts a little like Norman.
Psycho and yet calm. Like, the girl side wants to kill and the boy side doesn't want to harm. That's just creepy.
I recommend you see that film for yourself. And there's also another Chucky movie out called Curse of Chucky. And the timeline for this, I'm not quite sure where it would fit. Somewhere between the first movie and Bride of Chucky. Because we see Tiffany in her human form at the end.
I'm telling you now that Chucky is one of my worst nightmares. Oh,
So if you see a doll like this, destroy it immediately. As well as if you see this. That being said, let's move on to number 4. Pennywise, he's the dancing clown from Stephen King's It. Fortunately though, in this book I don't have a picture of him.
Penny?
Wise. In my mind, this is probably one of the scariest live-action performances that Tim Curry's probably ever done. Apart from acting as a mad transvestite doctor, or even as the devil. Well, if you can find a picture, that'd be alright. And as for the clown himself, he's probably the reason why dear clowns is a form of meat or entertainment. Because we may not realize that underneath that grease-painted smile lies a murderous psychopath just ready to pounce on some unlucky victim.
So what? Look at that face. Look at it. It's so cute. Okay, no, it's not. I hate clowns.
And basically, the synopsis of the film is that at 5 adults recall the first time they even came across the clown, and how he scared them while growing up. It's known that the true form of Pennywise is a real shocker, but unfortunately, I cannot tell you what it really is. But I will give you a hint. It has something to do with what Pennywise states at the end of the first half of the film. Now let's go on to number 3. Which is Jason Voorhees from the Friday the 13th movies. And don't worry, I got a picture on him. This is Joker, actor, Caligari, Jack Torrance. Where on earth is he? Give me a sec. Where are we? Ah, here he is. Like Victor Crowley, Jason then comes back from the dead in order to get revenge on teenagers who were more interested in themselves than their actual job. As camp counselors. For those of us who know, what made Jason die? Well, as a child he was deformed and was usually picked on not only by the campers, but also by the counselors who were supposed to be, doing the right thing, sticking up for him. Until one day he drowned while they were too busy with each other in order to save him.
I gotta go, guys. Grocery shopping is best. I'll see you in a little bit. I'm going to be done.
See ya. Of course, in the first film, it should be known that Jason's not the killer, or in the first 2 films. But instead, it's his mother who wants revenge. As for the murder of her son. Now, why don't I put Jason and Victor? Well, mostly because Jason has more of a legacy than Victor. Or Crowley. I mean, he's gone through like 10 films on his own, including a crossover with Freddy Krueger. And in one of his movies, Jason is in outer space and becomes Uber Jason. I haven't seen it, but to me it sounds very interesting. Let's move on to number 2, which is, I don't know, mention this one, the last one, Freddy Krueger from the Nightmare on Elm Street series. And by the way, I prefer the Robert Englund version of Freddy Krueger, not this remake. And probably one of the most iconic of the horror villains, Freddy Krueger is an evil force who can kill you in your sleep. And you know that old cliche, anything that happens to you in a dream can't affect you in real life. Like, you can't get hurt in a dream, you can't die in a dream. Well, when Freddy's around, that's possible. Oh, what? Krueger was once a child murderer who was burned alive by the vengeful parents, and upon his death, he swore revenge by giving their children in a way that the parents couldn't protect them in their dreams. Ever since then, for what seems like 7 movies, Freddy has killed numerous teenagers on Elm Street, including in the first film, a very young Johnny Depp, and probably one of the most gruesome death scenes in the film. Of course, his main weapon of choice, as you may have guessed, a metallic glove equipped with razor-sharp blades and the power of alteration in the dreamscape. This means that while you're asleep, you're in Freddy's realm, and there's little to no chance of survival when you come across him. And apparently the only way you can possibly defeat Krueger is grab hold of him while you're in dreamland, and when you wake up, he'll be with you. Oh, and then if he's in reality, you can kill him. As they've demonstrated in Freddy vs. Jason. Although the ending of that movie still has me questioning on whether or not Jason won. It's kind of like the cliffhanger with the series finale of Deadliest Warrior, Vampires vs. Zombies. Who won? And you decide. By the way, that's a quote from Epic Rap Battles History, which I'm now a fan of. And now let's move on to number 1. But before we go on to number 1, let me give you my honorable mention. And it is every villain from Courage the Cowardly Dog. Yep, that's right. For the honorable mention, I put every villain from Courage on the list. Basically because it's probably one of the best known Cartoon Network shows. And it's supposed to be a horror comedy in a way. But because there's so many different villains to choose from, I just picked 3 of my favorites. And basically these are the 3 that stand out the most. Number 1, Cats. Cats is probably the best known villain in the series, because whenever he appears, you know he's up to something truly nasty. Like, for example, in his first appearance and in the first episode, of feeding his tenants to spiders, turning people into machines via Dr. Moreau, blowing up a submarine full of people, and even threatening to turn Eustace as in the taffy if Muriel does not give him her secret ingredient, and on how she wins and all the food-based contests she enters. And for those of you who don't know what Cats looks like, he's basically a red anthropomorphic cat with purple stripes, golden yellow eyes, and a purple nose. And in every appearance he has, well, almost in every appearance he has, Cat, that's actually pretty gentleman-like towards Courage, in that he doesn't want to simply just do away with the dog or anything, but he wants to give Courage a sporting chance. It's by challenging him to some sort of game. Whether that be a racquetball, a staring contest, I don't really know what else. The second villain I've chose is Le Quack. This is a French-speaking duck who is another twisted character I've kind of enjoying in the series. Mostly because of how old-fashionedly evil he is, if fashionably is a word. In his first appearance, Dr. Le Quack, amnesia specialist, he tries to get Muriel to tell him where the bag's valuables are, even though she currently has amnesia at the moment, can't remember anything. By the way, he's supposed to be the amnesia specialist, and he didn't realize that she doesn't know anything. But there's one small thing that kind of puzzles me. It's that at the end of every episode almost every episode that he's featured in, the Quack seems to escape in some sort of weird, fiery manner. In other words, if he's sent to prison, he escapes and there's a fire behind him. He's taken away in a police car, it catches on fire, and he's walking away from it. And that leads me to the question, how on earth did he escape, and what on earth did he do? And the third villain I want to mention, and from Courage the Cowardly Dog, is Benton Tarantella, who's probably the first zombie in a kids show. Well, pretty basically the first cartoon zombie I've ever seen in growing up, or anyone's grown up. Tarantella it's revealed that he used to be part of a con artist team who lured people to their doom by posing as filmmakers. And in the first episode he's featured in, and he claims that he wants to make a film on the Bag Farm, during which his old acquaintance would return from the dead, and both of them would feast on Muriel. He's defeated by Courage after he changes his Tarantella's script and burying them both in the basement. In his second appearance, and probably the last, just we see of him, Tarantella comes back and he claims to be producing a TV series about nasty people. In other words, people doing unspeakably cruel and nasty things to others. Eustace, of course, is on board with this because Tarantella is willing to pay him. And it turns out that the camera that Benton has been using has been sampling the farmer's essence and creates an even crueler and nastier version of Eustace. Courage defeats Tarantella by tricking him into falling into a pit of quicksand, where hopefully he's gone for good. Now I know I could have put in other villains from the series, but like I said, there were too many to mention, and some of them weren't really all that interesting. Now let's move on to number one. And this is not going to be a shocker for anybody. The Thing. By this, I don't mean the orange rock-skinned guy from the Fantastic Four, but John Carpenter's The Thing, which is a monster that can change into the last thing it encountered and mutated into any number of horribly deformed, monstrous masses. The best way I can possibly describe the thing is by comparing it to the mimic octopus, if that makes any sense to anyone. You know, by this I mean both can change into different forms. While the mimic octopus can become other sea creatures that share the same color pattern as it does, as the thing and changes into the last thing it is killed. And the creature forms in both the original by John Carpenter and the remake, which is supposed to be a prequel. Well, I've heard the forms vary from a dog to even to some of the people you least expected to be infected by the thing. And of course, since this is number one, there has to be a reason why I put it so high up. Well, like the Purge Happy Psychos, it was in number 11. And the thing could be anything or anyone. Which means even though a person is in with right now could be infected with the thing, or it can be the very creature itself. Now that is why I put the thing in as the number one horror villain / monster. I hope you enjoyed this video, and from what Elaine and I have done from the time that she's been here, I hope to make another video really soon, for Halloween, especially since I am currently trying to come up with good ideas. And I might be doing another Pokemon list. And that being let's see here, creepy or disturbing Pokedex entry, or just a creepy Pokemon in general, or type of video. Like, subscribe, if you let me know what you think. Think about me doing a Pokemon themed Halloween video. I'll get on it as soon as I can. Until then, this is Demon091 signing out. And one more thing. Beware.